Hi. Hey there. Hey, you all. So, I just want to say hello. I have to tell you something interesting. So, here I am. I'm driving in my car, and I happen to meet a guy from Zale. And it was really funny because at first I thought, okay, do I want to do this? And it's like, yeah, I do. So, I just want to say hello to anyone who steps in and says hello. Please subscribe. Don't forget, author Mollie, your kitchen coach. Okay? So, I have been a few things in my life, but the most important thing for this purpose of doing these videos, right, is this Barnes and Noble. This is me right here, and this is in Las Vegas, Nevada at the Crossroads Center, Barnes and Noble. So, thank you, Amy. Now, one of my favorite stores in California is the one in Bakersfield. Yeah. So, season, hello. I finally am doing this. I told you that I was going to be literally right now going back to college for medical. So, since my book isn't under health and wellness, and you can see it right here. Yeah. So let me move this over a little bit. Whoops. Uh, 1 second. Now, is that better? I can't see. No, I'm serious. I use these glasses now for uh, seeing on the screen. Okay. So, so here we go. So let's think about what is an ingredient concern. Yeah. So we're going to talk about my book, and I'm going to explain to you the kitchen coach, right? All right. So the book, A Month of Happiness, right? So let me read this to you. Is healthy recipes for 31 days of daily living. Yeah. That focuses on health, wellness, diet, and nutrition, right? Okay. So with my take on the kitchen and nutrition correlating to life, I encourage my readers to analyze not only what's going on in their nutrition, however, but in their self-care and relationships with others. Yeah? Now, the book urges readers to reflect, okay, on certain areas of improvement. And of course, to make room for future improving future self, right? Okay. So now I refer life being a recipe made of key ingredients. Yeah. Like forgiveness, love of all kinds, trust, communication, health, of course. So, what are those ingredients missing? Okay? In your life recipe. Now, reflection. So, call to action, breaking bad habits. Yeah? And creating new ones. Lead readers of mine in this book, A Month of Happiness with Miss Mollie, to grow for the better. So, when I was interviewed, I always talk about life ingredients. I talk about food relating to life. So you have a recipe, right, of ingredients. You got to follow those steps You got to make sure you got all the right ingredients in your food recipe. It's the same thing in your life recipe. Now, let's sum all this up. So what we're going to do is we're going to discuss ingredient concerns. Yeah? So, throughout my tour with the book, whether it be out of the country or throughout the states, the US, I have come to find and met some really interesting people. Okay? Now, this book originally was inspired by, I'm going to show you, attorney James Nassos Mancuso, which is right here, this man right here. So, yes, he was my love. He was my world. He was. I met him over racehorses. So, the thing is that at the end of the day, Mancuso, I used to call him, inspired me to just get out in life and look at all of my talents, right? So I did that. And now I come from 4 industries. However, because I decided to go back to college, now that I have an MBA and BA in business management, global management, marketing, yeah, it's important where our world is right now for me that I get into the medical world on the administration side. Because when this attorney passed away of a brain tumor, that was 2015. And of course, you have questions. The ingredient concern of mine, yeah, was what am I going to do now? All this time and all this effort goes into this book, right? So I'm finding myself through the book tours, through meeting people, through connecting with people in my life that I knew people, and specifically one of my managers, I'll say this, in Bakersfield, California, Season. She is one of the staff members that I really connected to, and we talk about, Barnes and Noble goals, where readers are going, and ultimately, as I told her through my travels in Georgia and in Nevada, I was teaching people how to get published, which is kind of cool, yeah? Because I had people asking me, "Hey, Miss Mollie, how do I get published?" Through Barnes and Noble. So how about BN Press? Yeah, that's Barnes and Noble. Now, it's connecting to the customer relation managers, for instance, getting to know the procedures of, is your book going to be placed on the shelf? How do I do the events? What content are you looking for? Well, so when last year, December of 2023, I was in Texas, yeah. And at the end of the day, you keep your accountability to the word of, let's just say, how can I say this? I'm thinking out loud, okay? So just go with me. Let's just use me as an example. So I wanted to find out, what do I do to make these managers happy? Well, they want numbers. They want to know what kind of presents can you bring to these stores, these bookstores, yeah? And long story short of it, the goal here is you have to travel like I did. You have to invest in putting together events. Now, during certain times of COVID, it was easier for me to travel because cheap flights. How about that? $50 round trip here and there. And that made sense. Then I took a trip out of the country and met another publishing house. Yeah. In Zagreb, Croatia. And I can't tell you if I say the name right, but it's Skolskanija. So here's the key. Meeting managers, putting events together. Is your book going to reach every reader? Yeah. You want to have the right content. Whether you're a mystery, whether you're nonfiction like me, and are you going to be able to hit children, like I did, 10 years old? That was cool. That happened in Nevada, right? That was at the Crossroads Center, Barnes and Noble. Here I am. I have these little chefs, but here's the thing. I can deal with people who are 10 years old or 95, like my 95-year-old book client, Coco, right? She and I talk all the time, and people call me and say, hey, Mollie, what's going on? Let's talk about my ingredient concern. So what I call life problems are ingredient concerns. And I thought about YouTube, and I thought, what am I going to talk about? Because people have met me before, and why do they want to see me? So here's what I thought. We can all talk about ingredient concerns in your life recipe. You can step in and subscribe to me, to author Mollie, your kitchen coach. Send me topics that, let's just say, you want to discuss, and let's figure them out, right? I'm trying to figure out this world, what are we doing here? How could I be an asset to this world, right? So I'm thinking to myself, after I talked to this sales manager, now this is interesting. I met a sales manager who is now looking at dentistry, and I'm telling him I wrote a book about life, food, and accountability, right? I'm trying to be accountable to my life recipe, trying to figure out my way, right? After a pandemic. Yeah. So I'm telling one of the Barnes and Noble managers, hey, Season, guess what? I'm going to go back to college and I'm going to get in the medical industry. Administration is what I can do. Didn't want to be a doctor or nurse because I'm not interested in cutting or sticking people. Won't do it. I don't like to do it to myself anyway. So I said, Season, and I love her nickname because she reminds me of a food ingredient. But she's my prayer warrior. And I pray for her store in Bakersfield, California. I am so glad that y'all stuck it out during COVID and you didn't close like the store in Houston, Texas, where actually I did a book signing on Holcomb after 25 years. I told her I couldn't believe it. So I really had to think about this, pray about it, and go, okay, during my studies, while I am typing away and trying to get back in college algebra, I needed to find my ingredient concern, my purpose in life all over again. And let me tell you something. I'm going to be just black and white with you and just look, it's not been easy. And if the man that did not die did not get brain cancer, I never would have written a book, on account of which I never would have decided, now that I'm going and talking to a good friend of mine who's like a sweetheart, telling me, Mollie, you should write another book. And I'm like, I have to be inspired, right? So my inspiration, I will go back, was this man right here. But he passed away. So I thought, maybe I need to educate myself again and get into an industry that is a commodity, like the medical industry. Yeah. So this is why I decided to do the ingredient concerns in daily living with me, author Mollie, your kitchen coach. So I haven't seen some of you since December of 2023. And my dad had passed away, so I saw an old friend. Yeah. And JC, Monica, and I, who knew my dad, we got to talk, and it was such a blessing because I didn't know what I just, sometimes you just don't know the true story until you can sit down and talk to someone who actually knows your dad. So I got the truth, finally was able to go forward. And right now, I just want you to know that whatever is on your mind with ingredient concerns, now these ingredient concerns in my book are life problems. Now, whatever it is that you want to discuss, feel free to type in what you're going through, what you're thinking. Are you in school like me? Are you starting a new career? Well, since my book is in health and wellness in Barnes & Noble, I thought, light bulb, a novel idea was to get into the medical industry. So it is a challenge. Yes, I need your prayers. So what I'm going to do is tomorrow, I will do another one of these, and we will start with an ingredient concern, okay, it could be a list of anything. I mean, we could go on for umpteen years until I drop dead, right? So this is a wide open discussion. So whether it's voting, which is important to me right now today, now that I've given you a little backstory of the book in Barnes & Noble, broader bookstore at the Damn Roast House, I have to make sure I say that. And right now, the key, here it is a Sunday. Church is important to me. Bible study is important to me. I don't need people in my life that are going to take away from my, how can I say it, take ingredients away from my life recipe that are enabling me to be focused on what I'm doing right now. And here's a discussion right now. Here's an ingredient concern for me to share with you. Now, I just voted. And my ingredient concern to the world right now is we have to encourage each other to do research on who it is we're voting for our country. Who's going to represent our country? Who is going to manage our country without draining our resources? I have never, and I'm going to say this to you because I notice we're here 20 minutes into this. Okay. So I'm going to go for 10 minutes. This is my ingredient concern right now with me, with you right today, right now. And that is voting for the right person to not drain our economy, to not discourage our kids out there who are building a new foundation for the next generation. Coming from oil and gas from Houston, Texas, I have family members that are very divided. I don't know why. I've prayed about it, truly prayed about it. And I'm going to say this to you because this is an ingredient concern to me right now. I don't know if you have people in your life that are divided over politics and religion and money and, oh, if you don't live this way, you're not going to be that way. And, God knows my heart. And it's interesting. I'm going to tell you something. When I was in my 20s, I met this beautiful man, attorney James Mancuso. He represented Greg Maddux, the pitcher for Atlanta Braves. He represented the Maddux Foundation. But you know what's interesting? When this man right here, when he got diagnosed of cancer in 2012, I was in Houston, Texas. And my whole life just flashed. And I had to really think about what the heck was I going to do? Because I love this man with my whole heart. My family, when they realized that I met this person, they were all over me. When he died, they just let me go. Why? Because the money went away. Okay? True story. And then I have a stepmother, right? Who waited 1 year to tell me that my dad died. Had no clue. I've seen our country get drained by prideful people, by people who don't care about me or you or my daughter or anybody else, but just their self-interest. And my grandparents, I must tell you, I got to find this picture. Where is this picture? Just a minute. These people from Beaumont, Texas, absolutely raised me. And do you know, I guess that was around, if I remember, probably 2 or 3 years old, I had my first cup of coffee. Yeah? That's my coffee cup. Let's see if you can see it. Simply blessed. I always say have coffee with you because every time we talk to someone that we care about, we always have something, whether it's a cup of coffee or a glass of wine or whatever, or water. But these grandparents absolutely love me and I absolutely love them. They are the Bakers. She, right here, was German. He was French. Back in World War II, they met and they got married. Let me see. December 5th, 1942. Pretty cool, huh? She taught me how to sew. She taught me all kinds of things. But the one thing that happened, she was 62. She had an aneurysm and she died. I was 15. I'll never forget that. It just devastated my world because I thought my whole world was coming apart. But she encouraged me to cook and sew. She had made everything that she wore. They had a garden. You know, the coolest thing is she taught me how to make like chocolate candies and like fresh food out of their vegetable garden, which was cool to bake. She taught me how to bake and all that kind of stuff. And when she died, my grandfather, Gerald Baker, he got married again. I had a grandmother from New Jersey. She was kind of cool, but they met in church, and she was still kind of neat and cool when I got to know her. But my grandfather had pancreatic cancer. He died. I think I must have been 23, something like that. That was hard. So then I just thought my whole world just fell apart. And, you know, I go back to the ingredient concern I'm talking to you about is voting for the right people. Well, these people, my grandparents were all about unconditional love. They loved everybody. They loved my whole family. They loved all my family. I met people at a family reunion I never even knew I had. And honestly, if it wasn't for them, I would never have known. But you know what? It's interesting when people die in your life and people go away, and then you find yourself. And then you realize you got to go to God. We have to pray. So even in my book, all the things, these little mental tips and notes and things like that, and these one portion recipes in my book, I teach you how to get back on track, right? In your life recipe. So what I'm doing right now is kind of setting the tone for the next video, which will be an ingredient concern. Stay tuned, because it will be something relative to what everybody can relate to, you know, in life, because I like to be able to talk to people about anything. And we should be able to help each other in life, give some tips, you know, and at least recommend things in your life that maybe could help mine or someone else. I don't really know at this moment what my other book is going to be. I had a suggestion, and I'll give one to you. Okay, this is about what our world's going through right now, and it is teaching children how to understand the importance of voting for the USA where they live, right? As a citizen, a real citizen. I'm not talking a migrant, alien. I'm talking about as a young kid, why is it important when you turn 18, the importance of voting where you live? Do you want to live in a communist state? Do you want to live in a republic like we are supposed to be living in, right? So I just thank you for listening to me. And whether or not you want to go and order my book, it's okay. I don't care. It's just for, you know, it's for anybody. It's not perfect. I have my people out there who love me, and I have people out there who just want to throw me in the trash. But for the most part, my writers, the writers around me that I've met, and the readers so far have been pretty good. And here's my here is something I can leave you with, since this is my first video. And bear with me, because I didn't know what the heck I was going to say. I just knew that I was going to tell you about Barnes and Noble, my book tour, why I'm talking about the ingredient concerns in our life recipe right now. And the one thing I share with you, and I'll tell you every time I get on here, is stir out the bad ingredients in your life and stir in good ingredients. And at the end of the day, how did your day end? That's what we need to ask. And then I want you to give it up to God, pray. And I'm going to say this, I'll pray for anyone that needs a prayer, because that is one thing. When I was at church today, the subject was on getting closer to our Heavenly Father, and that is praying to Him about our life ingredient concerns. This is what I will leave you with. Okay? So I'm going to close my eyes. I'm going to make it short because our time is almost up. All right, Heavenly Father, thank you for this moment in time just to say hello. And for those of you in my audience that are watching and listening, I ask you to be with them. I ask you to educate them with how important it is to vote for the right person to run our country in the USA. And we love you, Lord. And we have to give you all the honor and praise for the things you've given us today. Please, Lord, help me stir out the bad ingredients in my life and stir in the good ingredients. I pray for my lovers and my haters. I was told that today. And Lord, let me be a servant to you. In your Son's name, amen. Thank you. And I will say goodbye. I'm going to end this little stream, and I'm going to share this, and hopefully this will be one of many more to come. Author Mollie, your kitchen coach. If you want my book, it's A Month of Happiness with Miss Mollie. Healthy recipes for 31 days of daily living. And you can order it. Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Walmart, Broader Bookstore, and anyone else who has signed copies of the book in their stores. Thank you, Dr. Jean GARRIS, for the radio interviews. Thank you, Deluxe Magazine, for the magazine interview. As you say, always be the best version of yourself. And you definitely know how to do that. Yes, absolutely. Anyway, y'all say prayers for me and this medical degree I'm working on, and that I get through all these courses. All right. Thank you so much. Bye.